It's Sunday, the 12th of October, and I'm Jacob Kaufman with Nerd on the Street News. So let's go ahead and start out with hacked credit card numbers, because that's always fun. This time it's Kmart. Apparently a piece of malware breached the retail chain's equipment, and it compromised shoppers' credit and debit card numbers. Now, there's no evidence that customers' PIN numbers were stolen, and there's no evidence that customers' social security numbers or personal information was stolen. But still, you generally want to keep credit card numbers on the inside. The breach likely began in early September, and they discovered the breach only this past Thursday. They don't have enough information to say how many credit and debit card numbers were compromised, and they sincerely apologize, of course they do. So yeah, that's awesome. Another one, there were actually two this week. Dairy Queen also had the same problem. They were hacked by a piece of malware called Backoff, and payment card data was stolen there too. It believes the malware has been contained, that's nice. They deeply regret any inconvenience this incident may cause. Yeah, not a lot of details there either. I guess companies don't really want to go out and talk about it when they get their stuff hacked. Once again, no PIN numbers, no social security numbers, just the card numbers themselves, so yeah, if you've shopped in either Kmart or Dairy Queen in the past few months, just watch your bills, I guess. HP is splitting off into two companies. And no, the two companies are not going to be called Hewlett-packard, that would be great. But instead they're going with HP Inc. and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. The split will be complete in 2015, and the companies are still expected to work closely together, so it sounds like it's more of a legal thing than an actual organizational thing. They're doing this because basically HP is doing really well with their server sales because, companies need servers in the age of the cloud. However, nobody's buying PCs anymore because everyone's into the whole tablet craze, so HP is not doing well on their PC sales. They want to split off their PC sales away from their server sales so that when the PC company dies, the server company will still be able to go on selling servers. Now, it's interesting, HP has a really big stake in the printer industry, and printers are being grouped together with PCs. So if and when the PC HP company goes down, then printers will no longer receive support, and that would suck. I'm not saying HP is going to die anytime soon. I love HP. I'm probably never going to buy a brand name computer again, but my first computer was an HP computer. My first personal computer that was mine and nobody else's was an HP computer, and yeah, it worked really well, and I had really good experience with the HP support team. So yeah, I hope that this goes well. Key enterprise customers are talking about how right now they can call up HP and say, hey, I want 2 servers and 500 desktops, and they're worried that after the split they'll have to call 2 separate numbers. They'll have to call one number to buy their servers from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and they'll have to call another number for HP Inc. to buy their desktops. And they don't want to have to deal with 2 separate companies. They like getting everything from the same company. It can all be handled through the same payment. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. We'll have to see just how closely the 2 HPs work together in the future. Another company that's splitting is Symantec. And apparently one of these 2 companies will be focused on security and the other on information management. That's a really good reason to split, because right now, Symantec, they make Norton Internet Security, or Norton, the antivirus software, and I have not used Norton as a paid thing. I know people who have used Norton as a paid program. I know HP pre-installs Norton on all their desktops, and usually I uninstall it and install something free. But if you're going to be making security software, then you should probably not be collecting stupid amounts of data. So yeah, information management, that's big brother stuff like Google and Apple and Microsoft already have. So yeah, that's great. So your antivirus software will no longer be collecting big data, unless these 2 companies are going to work together closely too. Who knows? We do not know what the 2 companies are going to be called, but yeah, they will be splitting. They just decided that this past Thursday, so they have not had a lot of time to talk about it, I don't think. So that'll be interesting. Speaking of big data, Microsoft updates Skype for Windows and Mac with a new chat interface. And I said speaking of big data because I needed a segue, but Skype does collect some information sometimes. And I'm looking at the new chat interface. It's very flat, just like a lot of the, the live tiles or whatever, modern. It's not Metro. I think, are they calling it modern now? The Windows 8 app look That's going to be the same app look that Windows 10 uses. It's that kind of a look for Skype. And honestly, there are a lot of people online complaining about this. I don't think it looks that bad. I think the new Skype design looks, just fine. My problem is that the article title says Microsoft updates Skype for Windows, Mac with new chat interface. Little known fact, Skype for Linux is barely existent anymore. There's only a 32-bit version. There's not a 64-bit version of Skype for Linux, and it's outdated. And it has an interface that's not even the old interface that is the interface you probably have if you have Skype right now on Windows or Mac. They have not updated Skype for Linux in years. They might have done some tiny security update, but I doubt they've even done that. They certainly haven't made any updates since Microsoft bought Skype. So yeah, Microsoft says, we're keeping things multi-platform, and they are keeping it supported for Mac really well, but they're not supporting Skype for Linux. So that sucks, because I use Skype because a lot of my friends use Skype, and I've got it running on my Arch laptop over there. And yeah, I would love to have this new interface. It looks fine. Yeah, please start updating Skype for Linux. If you don't, it's going to die. We're going to move to other platforms. It's not like Skype is the only video solution out there. I can do Google Plus on Linux really well. Google has been supporting Linux a whole lot. One of the ways that Google has been supporting Linux is by teaming up with Netflix to bring Netflix to Linux. And it only works in Google Chrome, not Chromium, so not the open source version, the proprietary Google Chrome browser. A lot of people might not be very happy about that. As I've said in the past, I think that in a perfect world, if everything was open source, that would be great, but actually trying to make every single program in existence open source is really romanticizing the way that the world works and the way that businesses work. And I am okay with having proprietary software as long as it's not tracking me or collecting excessive data, which the problem is you can't tell with proprietary software. I have switched to Firefox for my main web browser, but I will be installing the proprietary Google Chrome just to watch Netflix. And that's it, and anything else that only works in Chrome, I will be using Chrome for. Anything that I can do in Firefox, I will do in Firefox. If you don't give a crap about proprietary versus open source and you don't know where that whole sidebar came from, then never mind. As I was saying, Netflix is now supported on Linux natively. Right now, I can watch Netflix in Firefox on my Linux computer. I'm recording this on a Linux computer. And the way I do that is I installed Silverlight inside of Wine. So I installed a Windows program on top of a Windows emulator, and then I have a plugin for Firefox that tricks the Netflix website into thinking that I'm using Windows. You no longer have to jump through all those hoops. Now you can grab Google Chrome, the proprietary one, and then you can go to Netflix and it will just automatically work. They have worked DRM and everything straight into Chrome, which I'm still not a fan of DRM, but at least I can watch my freaking Star Trek on Linux. By the way, this will work on Chrome version 37 or later, and Ubuntu 12.04 LTS, 14.04 LTS, and later versions, so I guess the 12.10 through 13.10 might or might not be supported, I have no idea. If you're using the latest version of Ubuntu, this will work. Yeah, Firefox support will not be possible until Mozilla supports encrypted media extensions. So yeah, Mozilla's working on that, so this functionality should come to Firefox sometime in the future through an add-on, like a Netflix add-on for Firefox that will enable Netflix. Because we can't just have, just streaming video. We have to make sure it's locked down, because I'm totally going to pirate everything that I possibly can all the time, even if I have no reason to do so. Now that's a great thing for Netflix to do, support Linux. Here's a really dumb thing for Netflix to do. They are raising the price for those who want Ultra HD video. And don't worry, your 1080p video is still going to be coming at the normal, is it $10 a month, $9 a month? Whatever the normal price for Netflix is, you're still going to get your 1080p video. What they're talking about is 4K video. So this is only going to work on certain Netflix-supported TVs, not on all 4K TVs. And yeah, you're going to have to pay $12 a month versus $9 a month for normal subscribers. Yeah, so you're going to be paying about 33% more if you want 4K Netflix streaming. Now, we're already paying for the content, Why do you have to charge every extra penny that you can? Why do you have to squeeze that extra 33% out of us? Is a billion people paying you $9 a month? Is $9 billion not enough for you per month? That was totally, those are not real numbers at all. But seriously, Netflix is making a whole lot of money already. This was completely unnecessary and is just an example of trying to get that one more penny. Honestly, nobody has a 4K device right now, and if you do, then it's probably on your computer, not on your TV. If you've got a 4K TV, then this might or might not even work. If you've got a 4K computer, I don't even know what to tell you. I've got a 1440p monitor, and 4K I think is 2560p. I don't know. When I got my monitor was like a whole scale bigger than the normal 1080p monitors, and now we've got 4K monitors, and my monitor looks like it's low resolution again, so that's awesome. I'm just gonna stick with whatever they give me when I go to netflix.com through Google Chrome. It sounds like this doesn't really work very much anyway, but yeah, if you have a 4K TV and you're going to be wanting to watch content in 4K, then look out because your Netflix bill will be going up. In other news, Apple has called an event for October 16th. On their website, they've got the tagline, "It's been way too long." And it really hasn't been way too long. What was it, like 1 or 2 months ago that they released the iPhone 6 and announced the iWatch? Really, Apple's having a whole lot of... They did something back in the summer when they told us about the new software, and then they released some of the new software a couple months ago, and now they're going to release probably the rest of the new software along with the rest of their new hardware, because they released some of the new hardware a couple months ago. Remember when there was like one event every year that Apple did and nobody knew what they were going to do? And now they've got like 3 or 4 events per year and we always know exactly what they're going to do. It's really gotten less and less exciting. Anyway, here's another story. SoundCloud posted a $29 million loss in 2013 and they had revenues of $14 million. So I guess that the $14 million still left them $29 million under. Yeah, so they made $14.1 million, but they still lost $29.2 million. Now, how could this be? Because SoundCloud, obviously they're making millions of dollars, and they're really, really popular. If you don't know what SoundCloud is, basically, it's kind of an online version of iTunes. I wouldn't call it iTunes. It's an online music audio sharing platform where creators can sell their music. I think they're working on a podcast platform, and I'm really excited about their podcast platform. The one thing I really love about SoundCloud, I'm not super into any specific music company, music sharing tech company, but I really, really love the online SoundCloud music player. It is a very nice player. You can easily scrub through to whatever second you want to go to in the player. You can click play and pause, and it's not laggy at all. And I know that sounds really dumb. Like, they made a player that actually works well. But a lot of players online really don't work well. Like, if I go and listen to music on YouTube, it's going to take a few seconds to buffer, and it's going to skip, and it's going to, not skip, but it's going to lag whenever I'm trying to skip around. SoundCloud, their online player, is absolutely great. You can skip around in their player. It barely buffers at all. I don't know, I just really like the SoundCloud player, and their website's alright designed too. So yeah, what their problem is, they're saying they're actually growing faster than their infrastructure can handle. So think about it this way. You're a small business owner with like a little shack on Telegraph, and you're charging, $2 for a snow cone or whatever, and you're used to getting like 5 or 10 people per day, and you're just barely getting by. Then all of a sudden, 1 million people come to your snow cone stand all at once. Now that might seem like a great thing, because 1 million people times $2 per snow cone is $2 million. So you just made $2 million, right? Well, the problem is that you're in a shack on the side of the road, not actually in a building that you can keep that many people in. So you're actually running out of ice all the time, you're running out of flavor all the time, and you don't have enough change for everyone. I don't know what it is with me and the metaphors this episode. But yeah, basically, so many people went and started using SoundCloud at once that they did not have time to scale up. So there were just a ton of people using servers that were not designed for a ton of people. So the servers were consuming a whole lot of resources and costing a whole lot of money. They grew too fast for their own good, is the only other thing I'll say about that. Finally this week, what better way to end off an episode of Nerd on the Street News than with an Edward Snowden interview. We don't actually have an interview with Edward Snowden. I'm talking about quoting an interview he already had. He had an interview as part of the New Yorker festival. I thought it was like a film festival or something, but just the New Yorker festival. He said that people who care about their privacy should stay away from popular consumer internet services like Dropbox, Facebook, and Google. And, you know, I use Dropbox. Actually, I don't use Dropbox for anything anymore. I've phased out the Dropbox in my life. I use Facebook all the time, especially for text messaging, which is totally not secure at all. And Google, I still use Google as my default search engine. So yeah, I'm guilty on 2 of the 3 charges. I do want to read a quote. A lot of people say, oh, I'm not breaking the law, I'm not doing anything wrong, it's fine if the government wants to scan my Dropbox. A lot of people make that argument. This is a direct quote from Edward Snowden at this interview that happened last week. When you say, I have nothing to hide, you're saying, I don't care about this right. You're saying, I don't have this right because I've got to the point where I have to justify it. The way rights work is the government has to justify its intrusion into your rights. So anyone who's saying that, oh, I don't care if the government looks at my stuff because I'm not doing anything wrong, they're really flipping around the way that rights are supposed to work. Here's another quote. He said, we can have secret programs. You know, the American people don't have to know the name of every individual that's under investigation. We don't need to know the technical details of absolutely every program in the intelligence community. But we do have to know the bare and broad outlines of the powers our government is claiming, and how they affect us, and how they affect our relationships overseas. Because if we don't, we are no longer citizens, we no longer have leaders. We're subjects, and we have rulers. And that's what you're doing if you're saying, oh yeah, sure, whatever, look at all my stuff. I don't care, I'm not doing anything wrong. You're becoming the subject of a ruler. And the government is now ruling you because they can look at your stuff whenever they want to, because you gave them permission to. You're supposed to be in control of your stuff. That's how our whole government was supposed to work, was they have to get permission from you to do anything. And it's really not like that anymore at all. I'm just not going to talk anymore about that because, you know, this is a YouTube video from a teenager and you're not going to listen to my opinion anyway. But yeah, that's some Edward Snowden stuff, so that's great. That's about all for this week of Nerd on the Street News. Let me know what you think about any of these stories. I'm thinking I might do actually a series about ditching Google in the future because I know he specifically mentioned Google is bad for privacy, obviously. And it was kind of funny because in the thumbnail it's got him talking about this and then it's got the Google Plus logo above him because they were using Google Plus for the interview. So way to find an alternative to that. But yeah, I'm thinking I might actually do a series about getting away from Google because I need to personally figure out how to get away from Google. So that would benefit me and you guys. So yeah, like I said, that's about all for this week on Nerd on the Street News. If you have any stories to submit for Nerd on the Street News, remember, you can do so at reddit.com/r/Nerd on the Street. That is a subreddit specifically for this show, and you can submit any stories you want me to talk about. I should probably check there, just in case anyone has posted anything. Of course not. So yeah, go on there, submit stories from your favorite tech websites, and that's all I got. I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm Nerd on the Street, and I will see you guys later. See ya.